Hello, everyone. Silence as self-discovery is an invitation to explore the uncharted territories of our own minds, hearts, and souls. In a world that never seems to stop moving, silence becomes the rarest of gifts, one that is often undervalued, and yet it holds the power to transform us in ways we might never have imagined. When we choose silence, we begin to remove ourselves from the noise that surrounds us, noise from society, from others' expectations, and from our own inner critics. This isn't about merely retreating from the world, but rather about finding a moment to tune into the subtler parts of ourselves that often go unheard. Silence allows us to enter a state of being rather than doing. We are conditioned to feel that to be productive, we must be constantly in action, filling each moment with busyness. However, silence breaks that cycle. It allows us to step away from the push and pull of constant productivity and consider what really matters to us. When we allow ourselves the freedom to sit in silence, we begin to notice things that we might have missed. We notice our thoughts, how they rise and fall like waves in the ocean, and we begin to understand which thoughts are meaningful and which are simply distractions. Through silence, we also become aware of our emotions. Emotions that we have buried or dismissed may start to surface. And while this can be uncomfortable, it is essential for self-discovery. We might realize that beneath a busy schedule lies a sense of inadequacy or fear of stillness. We may start to see patterns in our emotional responses: anger, sadness, joy that reveal deeper truths about who we are and what we value. Silence gives these emotions space to breathe, and as they rise, we are able to process them, to understand them in a way that might not be possible when we are constantly distracted. In silence, we also begin to separate ourselves from the expectations of others. Society is filled with voices telling us who we should be, what we should achieve, and how we should present ourselves. These voices can shape our identity without us even realizing it. When we are constantly surrounded by the noise of societal expectations, it becomes challenging to know where others' beliefs end and our own begin. Silence provides an opportunity to pause and consider whether the paths we are on are truly our own. It allows us to peel back the layers of others' expectations and examine what remains. It's an exploration of authenticity, of returning to the root of who we are when we are not trying to meet anyone else's standards. In these quiet moments, we can begin to identify our true passions, interests, and desires. Often we pursue goals and dreams that are not our own, but are rather reflections of what we believe will gain approval or admiration. Silence allows us to challenge these motivations and ask ourselves questions that go deeper. Are we pursuing a particular career because it fulfills us or because it impresses others? Are we in certain relationships because they bring us joy and connection, or because they provide us with social validation? In silence, we can begin to confront these difficult questions honestly. Silence is not only about introspection, but also about cultivating self-compassion. As we turn inward, we may uncover parts of ourselves that are fragile, imperfect, or even flawed. It is in silence that we can learn to sit with these aspects of ourselves without judgment, to understand that self-discovery is not about striving for an ideal, but about accepting all parts of who we are. This acceptance is a profound act of kindness toward ourselves. By choosing silence, we create space for self-compassion and forgiveness, for letting go of perfectionism, and for embracing our humanity in all its complexity. Self-discovery through silence also leads to a heightened awareness of our values. In the hustle of everyday life, it's easy to lose track of what truly matters to us. Silence gives us the clarity to reconnect with our core values. When we are still, we can examine our lives and see if our actions align with these values. Are we dedicating our time and energy to pursuits that reflect what we hold dear? Are we living in a way that is true to our beliefs? Through this awareness, we gain a sense of direction, and it becomes easier to make decisions that are in line with our authentic selves. Moreover, silence invites us to explore the boundaries of our comfort zones. In silence, we often encounter parts of ourselves that we avoid, fears and insecurities that we don't want to face. Perhaps it's the fear of failure, of inadequacy, or of loneliness. These fears may feel overwhelming when they surface in silence, but they are also opportunities for growth. By sitting with these uncomfortable feelings, we can begin to understand them, to dissect them, and eventually to transform them. This process of facing our fears within the safe space of silence can help us build resilience and courage, qualities that are essential for personal growth and self-discovery. Another aspect of silence and self-discovery is the cultivation of intuition. When we are constantly surrounded by noise, it's easy to ignore the quiet voice within that guides us. This voice, often drowned out by the opinions of others, has wisdom that we may overlook. Silence provides the opportunity to reconnect with our intuition, to hear it without interference. This inner voice can help us understand what we need, what we want, and what path will bring us closer to fulfillment. In learning to listen to our intuition, we start to trust ourselves more deeply and to make decisions that align with our inner truth. Silence also enhances our ability to reflect on our relationships with others. It helps us see how our interactions, our attachments, and our conflicts reflect aspects of ourselves. Silence reveals where we may have neglected our own boundaries, where we have prioritized others' needs over our own, or where we may have avoided vulnerability out of fear. Through this awareness, we can learn to foster healthier relationships that are built on authenticity and mutual respect. Silence as a catalyst for inner growth is a concept that invites us to engage deeply with our own lives, thoughts, and emotions in ways that are often difficult in our constantly noisy world. In a society that values productivity, speed, and external validation, silence can seem like an uncomfortable or even counterproductive state. However, by embracing silence, we create space to look inward, to explore and understand ourselves more deeply. This silence isn't merely the absence of noise, it's a deliberate practice of quieting the mind, setting aside distractions, and allowing ourselves to tune into the subtle and often overlooked dimensions of our inner life. Silence offers an opportunity for introspection, which is a key element of personal growth. In silence, we are able to observe our own thoughts without judgment or interference. This process allows us to better understand our patterns of thinking, our habitual reactions, and the underlying beliefs that shape our behavior. For instance, we may notice recurring thoughts of self-doubt or fear, thoughts that in the hustle and bustle of everyday life are easy to ignore or rationalize away. Silence provides a safe space to acknowledge these thoughts without the pressure to act on them. Over time, this introspection can help us identify areas where we may be holding ourselves back and areas where we have room to grow. Beyond observing thoughts, silence also allows us to connect with our emotions on a deeper level. Often we push aside or suppress uncomfortable feelings, especially in busy environments where there is little time for reflection. In silence, however, we have the space to experience these emotions fully, to sit with them and understand them. Instead of avoiding or numbing uncomfortable feelings, silence encourages us to confront them with honesty. This process of sitting with our emotions can lead to insights about what truly matters to us, what we fear and what we value. By facing these emotions head-on, we gain the opportunity to release what no longer serves us and to cultivate a sense of emotional resilience that is essential for growth. Silence also enables us to recognize our personal values and align our actions with them. With so many external influences shaping our decisions, from social media to peer pressure, it can be challenging to know what we truly value. In silence, however, we are free from these influences, allowing our core beliefs and values to emerge. We can reflect on questions such as, what kind of person do I want to be? What brings me genuine joy? What kind of legacy do I wish to leave? By reflecting on these questions in silence, we gain clarity about our values and priorities, helping us to make decisions that are more aligned with our authentic selves. This alignment, in turn, fosters a sense of purpose and fulfillment that is fundamental to inner growth. Another powerful aspect of silence as a catalyst for growth is its ability to foster self-compassion. In the quiet, we become aware of the self-critical voices within us, the voices that judge, criticize, or push us toward perfectionism. While these voices can be harsh, silence gives us the chance to confront them gently. In this stillness, we can choose to replace self-judgment with kindness, to offer ourselves the compassion we would readily give to others. This self-compassion is transformative because it shifts our inner dialogue from one of harsh expectations to one of understanding and patience. Over time, practicing self-compassion in silence can lead to greater self-acceptance, helping us to embrace all parts of ourselves, the good, the flawed, and the evolving. Silence also has the power to deepen our awareness of the present moment, which is a fundamental practice for personal growth. When we embrace silence, we become more attuned to the here and now rather than dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. This heightened presence allows us to appreciate life's subtleties, the feel of the sun on our skin, the sounds of nature, the rhythm of our own breath. Being present in this way cultivates a sense of gratitude and wonder, reminding us that growth is not only about achieving or becoming something different, but also about appreciating the richness of each moment as it is. This present moment awareness encourages us to engage more fully with life, fostering a sense of peace and contentment that is often overshadowed by the noise of daily life. Furthermore, silence as a practice allows us to tap into our creativity and intuition. In the quiet, free from distractions and external demands, we gain access to our inner resources, where creative ideas and intuitive insights can flourish. And silence allows us to explore these ideas without the immediate pressure to act on them, giving them time to develop and take shape. Creativity often thrives in these quiet spaces, where ideas are free to flow and take root. Similarly, intuition, a sense of knowing that comes from within rather than from logic alone, becomes more accessible in silence. By practicing silence regularly, we cultivate a stronger connection to our intuitive guidance, enabling us to make choices that feel right on a deeper level, even if they might not make immediate sense. Another crucial aspect of silence and inner growth is its ability to foster patience and resilience. Growth is rarely a straightforward path, and it often requires us to endure discomfort, setbacks, and moments of uncertainty. Silence helps us to build the patience to sit with these challenges, to accept that growth is not always immediate or obvious. By embracing stillness, we learn to let go of the need for quick fixes or easy answers, and instead to trust in the process. This patience, cultivated in silence, becomes a source of resilience, enabling us to face difficulties with greater calm and perseverance. Over time, this resilience strengthens our ability to navigate life's ups and downs, fostering a sense of inner stability that is essential for personal growth. Silence also invites us to let go of external validation, a key step in developing inner confidence. In the absence of noise and external feedback, we are free to explore who we are without the need for approval or praise from others. This process can be challenging, as we often rely on external validation to feel worthy or successful. However, by spending time in silence, we learn to look inward for affirmation, to trust in our own worth and abilities rather than seeking them from others. This shift from external validation to self-validation builds a strong foundation of self-confidence, empowering us to live authentically and pursue paths that are meaningful to us, even if they do not align with others' expectations. Finally, silence provides the mental and emotional space needed for reflection, helping us integrate our experiences and learn from them. In our busy lives, we may move from one experience to the next without pausing to process or reflect on what we've learned. Silence allows us to revisit our experiences, to understand how they have shaped us, and to gain insights that can inform our future choices. This reflective practice turns life's challenges and triumphs into valuable lessons, deepening our understanding of ourselves and our journey. By engaging in regular periods of silence, we create an environment for continuous self-reflection, enabling us to grow and evolve in meaningful ways. In a world driven by noise and constant activity, silence emerges as a profound tool for personal growth, empathy, and purposeful decision-making. Through silence, we connect more deeply with our emotions, values, and inner wisdom, finding clarity and alignment with who we truly are. Silence nurtures self-compassion, fosters resilience, and invites a creative presence that allows us to live more authentically. By embracing stillness, we build stronger, more empathetic connections with others and a deeper understanding of ourselves. Ultimately, silence is not an absence, but a powerful presence of space for transformation, inner peace, and genuine connection with life. The power of stillness in decision-making is an often overlooked yet profound approach to navigating choices in life. We live in a fast-paced, constantly moving world where decisions are made quickly and often impulsively, driven by a need for instant results and immediate responses. In this whirlwind, the idea of stillness can seem counterintuitive, almost like a luxury we cannot afford. Yet the truth is that taking the time to pause, reflect, and engage in stillness can make a significant difference in the quality of our decisions, providing clarity, balance, and alignment with our deeper values. When we choose stillness, we allow ourselves a moment to pause before reacting. This simple act of stopping can shift the entire process of decision-making, enabling us to respond from a place of thoughtfulness rather than impulse. Reacting impulsively often leads us down paths we might later regret because we haven't taken the time to consider the potential outcomes, consequences, or long-term implications. When we pause and give ourselves space, we create an environment where thoughtfulness can thrive. This space can be as brief as a few seconds or as long as it takes to achieve clarity. It is in this pause that we can break free from patterns of automatic responses that may not truly serve us. Stillness allows us to tap into our intuition, an internal compass that often gets buried beneath layers of external noise and pressure. Intuition is a subtle and deeply personal form of guidance that comes not from logical analysis alone, but from a place of inner knowing. However, it requires quiet to be heard. In stillness, we can tune into that internal voice to listen to what our instincts are trying to tell us. Often, this voice speaks softly, and only through quiet reflection can we discern its messages. While intuition doesn't replace logical analysis, it complements it by providing insight into what resonates deeply with our authentic selves. In stillness, we can hear our inner guidance and integrate it into our decision-making, resulting in choices that feel right on a core level. Another aspect of the power of stillness is that it allows us to distance ourselves from the influence of external pressures. Modern life is filled with influences from family, friends, social expectations, and even social media, all of which can sway our decisions. We may feel compelled to make certain choices to gain approval, to fit in, or to avoid disappointing others. In the rush to meet these external demands, we risk making decisions that don't align with our true desires. Stillness, however, allows us to disconnect from these pressures momentarily and assess what we truly want, independent of others' expectations. In this quiet space, we can honestly ask ourselves, is this choice genuinely mine, or is it something I am doing for others? Stillness also provides a much-needed opportunity to engage in reflective thinking, an essential part of decision-making that is often sacrificed in the name of speed. Reflection allows us to examine past decisions, learning from both our successes and mistakes. It gives us the chance to consider what has worked well for us before and what hasn't. By looking at our own experiences and patterns, we can make more informed decisions moving forward. Through reflection and stillness, we are able to see situations from a wider perspective, considering not only immediate needs, but also how our choices align with our long-term goals and values. This reflective process enables us to make decisions that are consistent with who we are and who we aspire to be. The practice of stillness can also prevent decision fatigue, a phenomenon that occurs when we are overwhelmed by the sheer number of choices we must make daily. In today's world, we are constantly making decisions, from minor ones like what to wear or eat, to major ones like career moves or personal relationships. Over time, this continual process can deplete our mental energy, making it harder to think clearly and increasing the likelihood of poor decisions. By incorporating stillness into our lives, we create intervals of rest and recovery for our minds. This practice refreshes our cognitive abilities, allowing us to approach decisions with renewed focus and clarity, rather than falling into a state of mental exhaustion, where our choices are more likely to be suboptimal. In stillness, we are also better able to evaluate the potential consequences of our choices. Often, when we are in a hurry, we only see what is immediately in front of us. However, every decision has a ripple effect, influencing not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us. By embracing stillness, we create a space to think through these impacts thoughtfully. What might this choice mean for my future self? How might it affect my relationships, my career, or my well-being? By examining potential outcomes in this quiet, unrushed environment, we are more likely to make decisions that reflect our values and consider the bigger picture. Stillness also brings clarity by helping us identify and separate our emotions from our choices. Emotions are a natural part of being human, and they certainly have a place in decision-making. However, when we make decisions purely from an emotional state, especially from states like fear, anger, or frustration, our judgment can become clouded. Stillness allows us to acknowledge our emotions without being overtaken by them. In this quiet space, we can sit with our feelings, understand them, and allow them to settle. Only then can we distinguish between what we feel and what we truly want, enabling us to make choices that are not merely reactions to our emotions, but are grounded in our deeper needs and desires. Furthermore, stillness fosters patience, a quality that is often scarce in decision-making processes dominated by urgency. In stillness, we come to understand that not every decision needs to be made immediately. That some choices require time, and through patience, we allow ourselves the freedom to wait for clarity. This approach can prevent the impulsiveness that comes with acting before we are ready. Instead, we learn to embrace the idea that some answers reveal themselves slowly, that some paths only become clear with time. By cultivating patience and stillness, we grant ourselves permission to let decisions unfold naturally, trusting that the right choice will emerge when the time is right. Additionally, stillness provides the mental space for creativity and problem solving, allowing us to think beyond conventional solutions. Often, when faced with a difficult decision, our minds get stuck in familiar thought patterns, seeing only the options we expect to see. In stillness, however, new possibilities can emerge. It's in these quiet moments that we are more open to insights and creative ideas that we might not have considered otherwise. This expansive thinking enables us to approach decisions with a sense of openness and innovation, leading to choices that are not only effective but also fulfilling and aligned with our unique perspectives. Empathy begins with listening to silence, a concept that invites us to rethink how we connect with others on a profound level. In a world where conversations are often filled with interruptions, reactions, and judgments, we may rarely experience true listening, let alone the empathetic silence that allows someone else's story to unfold naturally. Silence, as an active choice in our relationships, can open doors to genuine understanding, acceptance, and connection. It teaches us that empathy is not merely about hearing words, but about creating space where another person can feel safe, understood, and accepted without the pressure of immediate responses or solutions. Listening with silence is an intentional act of respect. When someone is speaking, the instinct often is to jump in to offer advice or to relate their story back to our own experiences. This tendency, although well-meaning, can actually shift the focus away from the other person's experience and back to ourselves. Silence, however, keeps the focus on the speaker. It signals to them that their feelings, thoughts, and experiences are worthy of being heard in their entirety. By choosing to listen without interruption, we communicate a deep respect for the person's perspective. This respect forms the foundation of empathy, allowing us to connect more meaningfully without feeling the need to influence or control the conversation. In silence, we are also better able to read between the lines, to notice the subtle cues, the tone of voice, body language, pauses, and hesitations that convey emotions often left unsaid. These nonverbal elements are essential components of true empathy. When we are not actively planning our next response, we become more attuned to these cues. A pause in someone's voice may reveal sadness, a hesitation might signal fear, and a change in tone could indicate excitement or discomfort. Listening to these elements without the need to respond or analyze them immediately helps us to better understand the other person's inner world, often revealing layers of emotion that words alone cannot convey. Silence also has a unique way of fostering vulnerability in conversations. Many people find it difficult to open up when they feel rushed or when they sense that the other person is eager to move on. Silence creates an atmosphere of patience, signaling that we are willing to wait as long as it takes for them to feel comfortable sharing. This patience is a powerful tool in building trust, as it shows that we are not just passively waiting for our turn to speak, but are truly invested in understanding them. When people feel this level of patience and acceptance, they are more likely to let down their guard, sharing thoughts and feelings they might otherwise keep hidden. Another key aspect of empathy through silence is that it encourages us to release our judgments. Too often, conversations are colored by our own biases, assumptions, or preconceived notions. We listen through filters, interpreting what others say based on our own beliefs and experiences. However, when we practice empathetic silence, we put these judgments on hold. Instead of jumping to conclusions, we allow the other person's story to unfold naturally without imposing our own interpretations. This openness to their experience, without the need to categorize, label, or judge, creates a compassionate space where they feel seen for who they are rather than as we perceive them to be. Silence also allows us to hold space for the emotional weight of others without feeling the need to fix their problems. When someone shares a difficult experience, it's natural to want to offer advice or suggest solutions. However, this well-intentioned impulse can sometimes undermine the other person's autonomy and their need to process their own emotions. Silence, on the other hand, communicates that we trust them to work through their challenges in their own time and way. This trust is a gift of empathy, as it empowers the person to feel capable and validated in their ability to handle their situation. Our silent presence becomes a source of strength for them, reminding them that they are not alone but are supported in their journey. Through silence, we also come to recognize that empathy is as much about listening to ourselves as it is about listening to others. Empathy requires a balance between openness to another person's experience and awareness of our own boundaries. When we sit in silence, we have the opportunity to check in with ourselves, to notice any emotions, thoughts, or reactions that arise. This self-awareness helps us avoid the pitfalls of emotional overwhelm or burnout, which can occur when we take on others' emotions without maintaining a healthy sense of separation. By understanding our own limits, we can offer empathy that is sustainable and genuine, grounded in self-compassion as well as compassion for others. Empathy through silence also teaches us humility. It reminds us that we do not have all the answers, that we are not here to solve or to save, but to support. When we listen in silence, we embrace the mystery of another person's experience without trying to impose our own narratives or solutions. This humility allows us to honor the uniqueness of each person's journey, recognizing that their path may be very different from ours, and that's okay. We learn to appreciate that each individual is the expert on their own life, and our role is not to direct them, but to stand by them with an open heart. Another profound outcome of empathy through silence is that it deepens our understanding of shared humanity. When we listen deeply and silently to someone else's story, we often discover reflections of our own struggles, fears, and hopes. This awareness builds a bridge between us, highlighting the commonalities that unite us despite our differences. In these silent moments, we realize that we are not alone in our experiences, that others, too, carry burdens, joys, and dreams. This shared understanding is the essence of empathy, a recognition that we are all connected through the human experience. Silence also cultivates patience, an essential quality in empathetic relationships. People may need time to articulate their feelings or thoughts, especially when dealing with complex or painful issues. When we listen with patience, we allow them to express themselves at their own pace, respecting their need for time and space. This patience communicates that we are here for them, regardless of how long it takes, which reinforces trust and deepens the connection. In this way, silence becomes an active form of support, a way of saying, I am here with you no matter what. Listening in silence fosters empathy by helping us transcend our own egos. Often, our responses and conversations are driven by the desire to be understood, to be right, or to assert our perspective. Silence invites us to set aside these desires and to focus instead on truly understanding the other person. It encourages us to be present, not for the purpose of validating our own experiences, but to genuinely connect with theirs. This shift from self-centered listening to other-centered listening is at the core of empathy, allowing us to move beyond our own perspective and to embrace another's reality with compassion. In the end, practicing empathy through silence is about embodying presence. It is about being fully available to another person, offering them the gift of undivided attention and respect without the distraction of our own thoughts, judgments, or solutions. This type of listening quiet, open, and compassionate invites a depth of understanding that words alone cannot reach. Through silence, we create a safe, nurturing space where empathy can flourish and where genuine human connection can take root.